breaking news, a massive fire happening in Milford. I'm joined now live by the chief of the Brighton Fire Authority, Michael O'Brien. Michael, thank you so much for being here with us. First, can you tell us exactly what happened in this area?
Yeah, so about 6:49 this morning, Brighton Fire was dispatched to an explosion in the area. Crews arrived to find one of the tanks that's associated with some natural gas processing in the area had exploded. The explosion was pretty widely felt. It did damage two houses that were a couple hundred feet away. Right now, we have the fire extinguished and under control. We were doing some air monitoring as well, just to check for if there was a need for some evacuation. At this point in time, we still do have a little bit of fire that's part of venting natural gas, and we're working with the company representatives to finish putting that out.
Do we know if anyone was hurt during this explosion? You said two homes were damaged. Anyone in those homes at the time that could have been injured?
There were people in the homes, and they were not injured, and we're just really grateful that there weren't many injuries just due to this.
Yeah, very grateful indeed. I can only imagine waking up and feeling that explosion and then having damage to your house. Is there any concern about the air quality and evacuation? I know you said you're testing the air. Do people need to leave the area just to take that extra precaution?
Yeah, good question. Right now, the tank is full of a combustible liquid. It's like oil. And the way the air is, or the way the wind is blowing, it's blowing it really onto the test track portion of the proving grounds. So there is no need for evacuations. Crews, and along with our hazmat team, have been monitoring the air and really haven't seen an issue that would cause for that. So really at this point in time, we're going to be working to finish up on the scene, and then over the next probably 48 hours, we'll be working to determine what happened out there.
Is there any idea? I mean, I know you said you're going to be out there 48 hours. We've seen some flames kind of sparking up here and there. Is there any idea how long it's going to take to make sure this scene is completely controlled? And also, what are your crews facing out there right now? We're seeing just a massive amount of what appears to be foam.
Yeah, so anytime you have a combustible or flammable liquid, the use of foam is really the desired way. So one tank had exploded, which was filled with a combustible liquid. So that's where you see a lot of the foam. We were also cooling some of the adjacent tanks. So they were damaged or had an impact from the first explosion. So a lot of the work our firefighters were doing was to limit any further damage on the adjacent tanks. Now, some of the flames you're still seeing is part of that natural gas equipment that has been damaged as well. And so really until we can control the flow of natural gas, or whatever the product that is venting, we're going to keep that burning because it's a much safer situation for our staff. And so the representatives from the oil company or the natural gas just recently arrived on scene. So we'll coordinate with them, making sure that we can get to the right shutoffs to shut off that open flame that you see right now.
We're seeing a massive response. We're taking a look now from Chopper 7 live over the scene as your crews continue to work out there. Are you getting any support from any additional fire crews? And should people avoid the areas? I'm under the understanding that we got some road closures in this area.
For sure. Pleasant Valley Road is closed. That's a pretty major thoroughfare for quite a few people trying to get to the freeways. So that's closed at Heine, so I would avoid that area. The second part, that area has no fire hydrants. And so a lot of the fire resources that you see out there are fire engines and what we call fire tankers that are providing water for the firefighting operations. And so they have to get to the scene and then bring the water. We're working with GM Proving Grounds. They have some spots where those vehicles can fill up and then bring water back to the scene. And so when you see a lot of the fire apparatus that you see, a good portion of that is for that, not just our firefighting operations, but to make sure we have appropriate water flow to support what they need to do.
Fire Chief for the Brighton Fire Authority, Michael O'Brien, thank you so much for being with us here this morning.